Greetings everyone, and welcome to Keeping Up with Papa, Life After Work, where we find out how one man manages to keep himself busy, physically active, and mentally engaged after retirement with projects. Today's project? Well, these are the steps leading from the house down to the lake, and we are in need of some sort of an outdoor shower in this area, so when people come up from having been swimming, they can wash their feet off and maybe rinse off a little bit more if they'd like to. So what we're going to do today is we're going to pour a pad and we're going to build a shower with a pole on a 4x4 pole and put in shower head, hose, things like that. Actually, it's already done, and truthfully it's been done for quite some time. Let's check it out. Well, Kevin, selected well, but nope. Welcome back. And yes, you are looking at the almost finished product, and believe it or not, it's been 2 years to the month since I did this work. Now that may give you some indication that occasionally I tend to get sidetracked on projects, and this is one that I really should have finished 23 months ago. And what we have here is, well, it's the finished product. There's a slab down here that was dry poured, and over here to the side, which you'll see more of in a moment, is a pole with a pipe running up, a shower up top, and a nice hose down here for people to spray off their feet if they want to. The concept is really, really good, but the end result has a few problems. And we're going to correct those problems today, after we show you how we built this slab. Let's get started. Well, step number one, you need to prepare the area in front of the steps for the concrete. So there's always a surprise, and my surprise this time, kind of filled it in some already, but right here we had an armadillo hole coming down from underneath the steps and down in this direction. So I don't really know if that means that at some point later on something's going to collapse. It's very possible. They've done that to me before. But the intention here is to come out about 4 feet from the steps and go over about 3 feet to the right from the steps. And so first thing I really need to do is move all this dirt out of the way. All right, so this is about 4 feet by 7 feet in this direction. I could shovel all this out by hand, but, well, I used a tractor this past weekend to move some dirt for a big job, and the bucket's still on the tractor, so I could shovel, or I could use the tractor. Guess which one I picked? All right, big head start. I do have a septic line coming down over here, and you may be able to see it over there. I exposed the clean out. So good to know that's there. I'll be working around that when I lay the concrete. Yeah, I was doing a little test setup. Put my knee down right here. My knee sunk down about 2.5 inches. There's an armadillo down under there. I'm just kind of curious. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Yep. Some point down the pipeline I may have a problem. I think I'll come in here with a tractor before I lay everything down. Just kind of squish all this in real good to make sure that any empty space in there is covered up. always surprises. So instead of taking the tractor, I decided to just take a shovel and dig a little bit, and look what I hit. There's the irrigation line. Terminates right here. Last sprinkler in this line. Should be fine under there. I'll just leave it as is. Well, as I mentioned earlier, there's always surprises, and the second surprise was, besides this, was earlier when I realized that I was in the middle of an ant bed. I've been chewed up like crazy by ants, and they keep getting me. I'm not even seeing them, but they're down there. So it's decision-making time. Now, we've got about a 7-inch run from step to step. Okay, so that means I need to have 7 inches from here. So actually, my concrete needs to go right about here. I also need to decide about spacing and my form boards all the way around. So what I think I've decided to do is use a 3/4 inch form board here. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this piece and then come back later and trim it so it's slightly above the concrete. So any water that runs down, I don't have an issue with this rotting out nearly as badly as it would have otherwise. It's already rotting out some for having been in the ground for the past 4 years. And then you decide about a form board over here. And I think I'll do the 3/4 inch again, but I have this concrete chunk sticking out. And it would be nice to have that board right across here. So I don't know, I'll figure out something. That'll come all the way back to here, and then I'm going to use this as the face. So I'll have another form board back here behind, and one back here behind as well. And I think that's going to work okay. Let's find out. See what we got. Nice. Well, mostly just leaves and a little dirt. This will work really well, much better. Now, this is a 4x4x10 pressure treated pine. It's really wet. I hope it'll accept stain. I do want to stain it the same color as the steps. I guess we'll find out. Since it's going to be handled pretty much constantly as a shower post, I think I'm going to put a 1/4 round router edge on it just to kind of make it a little smoother. I don't want somebody bumping up against it and catching a splinter, or a kid, whacking his head on it. He's less likely to cut himself if he does that. I typically keep a 1/4 round bit in my little small router here. So let's see how this does. It looks pretty good. I think we'll run with that. Looks good, except I just didn't catch this at the shop at Ace. This is some kind of paint, sealant, I don't know what it is. It's coming off of my hands. I'm going to have to let it sit here and dry for maybe 48 hours, and I'm going to have to take a sander or something to it anyway to get that off of there. I can't have that. It definitely won't accept stain. It's wet. So this came right off my hand just a minute ago when I got it on there, just running water on it. So I don't know, maybe there's a chance that I can scrub some of this off. I've never had to do anything like this before with a post. Let's see. Good old Dawn. What's going to happen? Nothing else, some of it will be gone. What do you think? Alright, most of it's going away. Well, that's good news. Alright, our form boards are in place, and a couple things going on here. First is, oh man, I've just gotten chewed up by ants here, so I've actually put down some get rid of the ants material here. Hopefully that'll work, and I won't have to worry so much about getting chewed up by these guys, because the bites don't sting very long, but they do sting. And second, I've got the post hole diggers in place over here for where my post is going to go. And that's the post that'll hold the line for the shower and for the foot wash. And then third, I need to put some dirt in. So I've got the old dirt from here, but I'm not going to drop that into here. I'm just going to push that forward right into this area. Then I've got some fill dirt actually up the hill that I'll use to fill this in and level it out. It'll be a little bit easier to use that, I think. Here we go. That'll make shoveling a little bit easier. Now, I do need to bring dirt in all the way around here. You can see how high this is above the regular ground level. And I'll probably bring it in with about an inch, inch and a half of this top point right here. And then we'll have grass that goes in around it to fill it out good. It's really a little early for me to bring the dirt in and dump it in here, but I'm going to do some of it anyway because I'd like to be able to step down off the steps or have someone else do that and not go quite so far down, have a little more level ground to stand on. But I need to get this post in first before I actually level it all out. I'm going to end up with dirt. This is a 3.5 inch board. I want a 3.5 to 4 inch deep slab. So I'll end up with maybe slightly under this for the level of the surface dirt when it's finished. So let's get in what I've got, spread it out a little bit, see how far it takes us, and we'll stop just shy of over there. So I think we're ready to roll. Boards are pretty much level on front and back. Got a little slope, as mentioned previously, going downhill. Filled in dirt where I've got about 3.5 inches of reveal, a little bit more. And I have 28 bags of concrete. Now I'm going to do a dry pour on this as opposed to a wet pour. There are a lot of tutorials on YouTube that you can watch for this, so I'm not going to go into all the specifics exactly how it's done. But I will take you through the step-by-step process just as I'm doing it and show you a little bit of it as I go. Looks simple on tape. We're about to find out. Now I'm going to go about 50% of the way up on my forms, and then, got that one screwed up, then I'm going to actually lay in some rebar. It's not really necessary for something this small, but I have a bunch of it left over that's been pre-cut from another project, and that's just not a bad idea. So we'll put it in there and see how it works. One down, 27 to go. All right, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, which is a little less than half, so I should have enough and a few to take back. Time to go get rebar.
rebar. So these are mostly 18-inch long sticks of 3/8" rebar. You know, why do I have all this? Well, I took that and turned it into these hooks. This was used on the driveway. I had runoff issues for years and finally got around to the point where I just had to fix it. So I bought a grid system, and that plastic grid, is held down by these. You drive them into the ground, it holds the grid down, then you fill it full of gravel, and you have something that actually holds water for a while. It contains it. So when we have those 2 or 3 inches and a couple hour rains here in Florida, they don't all end up on the front porch. Worked out really well. No need really for me to have some kind of fancy grid, I don't think. I just need something in here that'll help stabilize. So might as well use what I've got, you know. Let's do it. Well, I was starting the trim out process with this little tool that you use for the edges. Got about halfway done and it started to rain. Not super hard, but enough that it was going to be one heck of a mess and ruin the surface. I'd already brushed it out. So, was waiting for the drips to quit dripping off the roof, and then we'll uncover it and finish the job. Well, pulled off the cover and it survived pretty well, so I brushed it out one more time and I hit it with the little tool. I'm gonna do that one more quick hit and then we're gonna mist it. Well, it's about 36 hours later. Nice and dry. Got a coating of rock on the top here, which is something I didn't anticipate, but I don't think it's gonna be much of a problem. It's gonna give a nice solid texture to it so that you're non-slip. If I had poured it, wet poured it, I think this would have all sunk down. This is not a gravel, heavy gravel based concrete. So I'm gonna try sweeping this off and take something maybe a little more aggressive and sweep it off some if I need to. But I believe that once all this rock is gone, we'll have a good surface to walk on with bare feet. Alright, so I swept the whole thing really well. Much better. And I actually have taken my shoe, it's kind of broken loose surface stuff. Now I'm going to hit it with a blower. Time to take off the boards. First form board is off. Nice surface. This will all be covered up with dirt here. Interesting there, isn't that? Now here's a lesson learned about pouring dry concrete. It's dry until it's wet. And I did wet this per instructions of what I saw online, but now I pulled this off. Here, for example, that concrete's not set. So the result is I started to remove this board, this corner has cracked off. So I think what I'm going to do, probably go ahead and pull the board. I think I can get it out of there without damaging anything down here. Then I'll just reset this one corner. You'll never notice that it was damaged, but I'm going to continue to wet this down for a few days to get areas around here that it just didn't soak all the way down, to get them nice and set. Let's see what happens. Yeah, check that out. Lesson learned. So I pulled this first board off for the step so I can get in here and get this form board out. And I have this little bag of quickcrete left over from another job, just enough to fill in this hole and reset this one. Hopefully it blends perfectly. You can't even ever tell it was patched. It is different looking though, isn't it? There's no rock to speak of in it. Use the little tool we used before to get us this nice edge. I'm gonna have to wet that again. Hey, so it's worth noting that my other edges, the bottoms, are fine. I think just that one corner, for some reason I didn't get that wet enough. Everything else, yeah, it really looks good. It's nice and solid. That's good news. Dog approved. Well, I'm still waiting on the shower head to arrive. Ordered that through Lowe's. It's taking a lot longer than I anticipated. Anyway, time for grass. So I went and got a pallet of sod today. I'm going to use it here and then pick up again where I was working in the other part of the yard. So part of it's in. Let's see what happens as I put some more down. All right, shower heads here. You know, I was putting all the parts together here this morning and I realized that, hey, check it out. That's kind of loose. I forgot to glue it. Yep, time to go get some glue. Here's how the actual shower portion of the shower was built. It's PVC pipe, painted black in advance, and then mounted to the post, run underground before the slab was poured, and then it runs over under the porch to a spot where it comes back up out of the ground and is then connected to a water hose. Yes, just a water hose. The water hose is connected to the closest outlet around the corner. And then there is this. Well, this is, water supply is via a water hose. And if you're wondering how that works, there's this cool little gadget they have at Lowe's. It takes your water hose to PVC. So we'll screw that onto the hose and we'll have water. The foot wash is a quarter turn spigot. Moving up to the shower valve, it is just a PVC quarter turn valve. Well, first attempt at this, pretty much nothing came out of the shower. Turns out there was a bunch of dirt in the lines I hadn't purged first, so pulled it apart. Got good water flow there. Let's go up here and see if this works. Not well, nope. something is amiss still. All right, so I had a leak here, and I taped that really well and then screwed it back in, and I still had a leak there. So I taped it really, really well and screwed it back in, and the head was full of a bunch of gunk. So all that's out now, and here's what we've got. No leak there. Nice shower here, looking good. Excellent. Exactly what we wanted. A nice rinsing shower and a nice foot wash.
That's a little better. Now, it's April here in north central Florida, and it is leaf fall season, and in particular it's oak bloom season. The oak trees are blooming. And what you saw all over this was the oak bloom that had fallen out of the nearby oak trees. You also see a lot of algae build up over here on this side and in various places all around as well. So what I'll be doing is taking the pressure washer over here and pressure washing all this down. While I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the stairs. And then my intent, if you take a good close look at this, you will see it's a rough surface. And that is one issue with dry pouring concrete. It doesn't come out nice and smooth like a wet pour does. You can't really smooth it down well. It just doesn't seem to work. So I'm going to try something that I saw online, which is get a couple of bags of mortar and just mix the mortar up and spread it over the surface after it's cleaned, obviously, and see if I can smooth a lot of this out. It'll still look like concrete, but it'll look like nice, smooth concrete. Let's get that pressure washer fired up. Time to change shoes. I like to wear flip-flops when I'm doing this so I can get wet if I want. I do have to be careful though not to hit my feet with the pressure washer stream. Also, this particular pressure washer is adjustable from about 2,000 psi up to about 3,600 psi, so I've got to turn pretty far down and a wide 25-inch tip on it. I find that cuts nicely through this algae and dirt without really causing any damage to the concrete. All pressure washed and cleaned up and looks much better. Also got the steps and they look pretty darn good. You may recall from a little earlier in the video that when I first dry set this, I didn't wet this corner well enough and this corner broke off a little bit. So I had to go buy a small bag of concrete and reset it. Well, it ended up actually looking a little different here. It's a slight color difference and a texture difference on it. And I used a bag of the same Quickcrete, but it was just one of those little small, 2-pound bag or 5-pound bags. Looks totally different. onto the mortar skim coat. Now, I have done a little bit of research on this, but as usual, I kind of make things up as I go along. And this is one of those cases. I'm just not entirely sure how well this will work. So what I plan to do is I'm going to mix up a fairly soupy batch of this, kind of pour it on, and then just use a trowel, smooth edge, to spread it and see how we do. So I'm going to start off here initially with just a leftover bag, and this is about a half a bag. And let's try it, see if it works. And I'm going to do it on a corner here that's, you know, kind of not seen quite as well. Here we go. All right, here's what I've got. See what happens. Definitely doesn't leave it very smooth. Let's finish out this little bit here. Concept looks good. And it is a lot better looking, but it's got lines in it. I need some kind of a float. I guess a concrete float would do it, which I don't have. Maybe I'll hold off now and pick this up again tomorrow. One more thing to try. I do have concrete brush, and I mean that's what this is used for, to smooth out concrete. So going to leave little lines in it, but it's going to make it a lot smoother. Still don't like the way it looks. I'd like for it to be smooth though. So you know, I think I will just kind of back off for the moment. Ace is closed right now, so I'll have to go and pick up something from them tomorrow and recoat this section and figure out some way to smooth it off. Point of interest where you can benefit from my experience. We first put a hose on here. I had a nice coiled hose, kind of like this, but it was made out of standard vinyl hose material. Well, after about a year and a half, it had been chewed through multiple times by rodents, I would guess squirrels perhaps, or maybe mice, and was leaking like crazy. So I've switched over to a nice metal version, and so far, no problem like that at all. The only downfall there is I couldn't find a short one anywhere. I really would like to have something not quite this big. I guess everything's a compromise. Well, it's 2 days later, not 2 years this time. And you know what? I think multiple things are conspiring against me on this job. First, this was covered with oak bloom and it was wet, and the oak bloom just stained up this concrete really bad. So now I probably need to pressure wash it a little bit again to get this stain off before I put down some sort of mortar surface or a resurfacer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And looking at what I bought, it says to have dry concrete. Don't put it down on wet concrete. It might not bond well. So I'm pretty much not going to get this done today. What I'm going to end up doing now is probably clean this up one more time. I'm going to cover it up with a tarp. That way if I get rain or whatever falls on it, I'll be able to work on it tomorrow with it dry. Well, I've done some research overnight, and one thing that I've learned is that mortar actually is used in this kind of an application, but it often goes on right as the last step before you wet the whole thing down. So that's not what I've done and not what I want to do. What I'm seeing other people do is they use a concrete resurfacer to put over the standard concrete. This kind of fills in all the gaps and it's nice and smooth. So that's what I bought, and that's what we're going to try as soon as I have a surface that's in proper condition to attempt to do it. This shouldn't surprise you. The mortar comes right off.
day 3, and I'm going to try this again. Today's a nice day. No rain, no chance of any issues. This is covered again with some oak balloon, but it'll blow right off. And I have switched from mortar to resurfacer, concrete resurfacer, self-leveling concrete resurfacer. Everything I see online indicates that might work really well. So I'm going to blow this off real quick with the blower, and we're going to mix up a bucket of that. We'll see how well it does. Let's give it a shot. Here's what I'm planning to use. This is from Sacrete. It's a fast-setting self-leveling resurfacer. It says to use 4.5 quarts of water, no, 4.75 quarts of water, or 4.5 liters of water, and mix it all in with a, a concrete mixture. Well, I don't have a concrete paddle mixer, so I'm going to add it pretty slowly and just kind of, I've got something around here I'll stir it with. I do have a big paddle mixer I use for paint. It's covered with paint. I don't really think I should use that in concrete. I may end up with brown paint in the concrete. All right, I freely admit I learned something else, and that is that I really need a paddle to stir this. Now, so I went and got this one I use for paint, and I don't think it's going to come loose. I mean, this stuff's been dried on there for a long time. So we'll see if this will make any difference or not. Here we go. Yeah, big difference. The way it said to start off was by putting your water in the bucket, then add some and do what I'm doing now. Then add some more and do what I'm doing now. So I'm coming in late, breaking up all these little clumps, or big clumps. But it looks like it's getting rid of them really well. Making a huge difference using this. So what I don't seem to have a lot of anymore is a bunch of clumps, and that's good. And the bubbles I can work out when I level it and when I pour it. Let's find out. Package indicates I have 25 to 30 minutes of working time, and something I saw online suggested that I use a squeegee to spread it. So I think what we do is we just pour a little out, spread, and pour and spread, and let it do its thing. Well, there are clumps in it. And that's the one thing I was hoping I wouldn't have. At this point, I'm afraid it just is what it is. I got to get this done, get it as smooth as I can, try and work these clumps out to the edges maybe. No, that's not going to work all that well. Also, it looks like I'm going to have way more material than I needed. Pretty thick. Squeegee idea actually works pretty well. Well, I may have myself a bucket full of concrete. Can you re-wet this? Check that out. It is not pouring. It is set. I mean, try and see if I can re-wet it. Sorry, I didn't show you that. It poured right out like it's supposed to.
I guess you can reset it. If you screw up like I did. That's flowing a whole lot nicer.
Inside the bucket needs water again. Well, one thing I won't do is pull punches and not show you when I make mistakes. Because for me, a lot of this is a learning curve, and hopefully it is for some of you as well. And hopefully some of you that know what you're doing will tell me what I've been doing wrong. But nothing on that bag tells me to make small batches and spread a little bit at a time. It tells me to mix it all up and pour it. So that's what I did. So I'm going to have to start over. We'll have another day, a day 4. Get another bag of Saccharine and finish it out, but maybe a quart worth at a time, or half a quart of water, or whatever, whatever I can handle, and just mix it up. And you know what? I won't be mixing it up per the exact numbers that are on that as well. I'll be mixing it up so that it has the fluidity that I want to it, the viscosity, and then pouring it on here and using it. See you tomorrow. Day 4, I think, doesn't matter. Next day. Quite a learning curve with this. As you can see, there are, from yesterday, same bag of concrete leveler, 2 different colors. This is all from the same mixing. This one over here went down first. This one went down after I had to add some water in and loosen it back up again a little bit, or thin it out some. Pretty substantial difference in color. Wow, what an interesting learning curve. So I've gone back to the store and picked up another bag of the same leveling compound. I actually tried to get one that didn't set quite as fast, and they had a dozen bags of it there, but every one of them was rock solid. I don't know what I'm going to do with a rock solid bag. It's not powder. It would just be asking for a lot of trouble. So I had to buy the same material that I tried yesterday. So we're going to mix that up this time in much smaller batches and do a smaller section at a time, see how it works out. All right, following directions, I mixed up about a fifth of the bag at this point, and use the egg beater. Everything looks nice and smooth. Got a few little chunks in here I need to try and get rid of. Amazing. Still, this is a little better consistency for pouring and spreading. Squeegee worked pretty well yesterday, so we'll do that again. Lord, this stuff is just everywhere. You can see that there are some lumps in there still. So, without a doubt, that is working a lot better. It is already setting. I can just feel the texture changing. Interesting, this stuff just does not really work great if you're trying to level a pad inside of the house. I guess there's technique to it, I just don't understand. This stuff that flows over the corners, over the edges, excuse me, I will come back later after it dries and just chip it off. I don't expect that to be much of an issue.
Just pulling the squeegee along very lightly. And then it, with the exceptions of that right there, that's where it didn't, you know, it's dry in the middle of a clump. Yeah, you don't really see how uneven all this is until you do something like this to it. I thought I had a nice even pad. I don't. All right, that's going to be a whole lot more comfortable on the feet when it dries. The question now becomes what to do about the corner over there where we have color differences. Let's go take a look. Well, it's pretty obvious that I have a bit of a mess here and here. So I've got plenty left over, so I'll finish up this batch and mix another one and re-level this surface. Alright, one more little batch. Cover up the rest of my issues. Final mix, hopefully. Already it looks a lot better than the original concrete did. Okay, new spot. Sit. Ouch, I hit my head on the board. Here we are, wet still. Starting to dry already. Got a couple of squeegee lines there. I'll try and remove those after it dries, but it's nothing severe. And the difference here is this is between what I had when I started a couple of days ago and now. It's going to be very dramatic. This is much smoother, yet it still has a nice texture to it for walking on, so that you'll have some grip and it won't be slick when it gets wet or gets a little algae coating on it. Well, shoot. And again, my tendency to get sidetracked into other projects means it's been 10 days or so since I cleaned this up real good so I could go ahead and seal it. And of course, a lot of oak bloom has fallen, it's coming down off the roof, and it has stained the concrete orange. At least I'm assuming that's the source. So I'm back again trying to get it cleaned up. This time I'm going to use a scrub brush along with a mixture of 50-50 of pool chlorine and water. See if that works. I'm surprised, but it worked. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to rinse it now really well. Tomorrow morning early, I'll come out and hit it one more time and give it time to dry. Then tomorrow afternoon, I'll seal it before we have any opportunity for something else to go wrong, hopefully. Wish me luck.
All right, looks good.
In case you're curious what was used for sealer, this is it. The company that did the stamped colored concrete at the front of the house used this same sealer. Very easy to apply. I simply roll it on with a paint roller. "24 hours later and it's done." Well, maybe I should say 2 years and 24 hours later. The surface is not completely and totally smooth. That is really, as I've said before, a result of my not thoroughly understanding how to do this particular project, but is much better than it was. Before you put your bare feet on it, and there were a lot of little tiny pebbles. This little bump that occurs right here actually gives you just some nice grip, and I'm really kind of happy with it. You'll also see some stain marks here. After I sealed it yesterday, I didn't think to turn the sprinklers off, so it went off last night. We had water sitting here for for 14 hours or so, and it doesn't drain quite as well as I would like it to. It kind of puddles, but it's not severe. And most of this staining, after a few days in the sun, it'll go away. All in all, not one of my most successful projects as far as the sealing goes, but the rest of it is absolutely outstanding. It does exactly what we wanted to do. We have the outdoor shower over here. We have the sprayer. We have an area where you can get your feet cleaned off and your body if you want to, coming in from being out in the lake. Very happy with the concept and the way it turned out. Very pleased. Well, that's it. Another project completed. As usual, all comments and questions and advice, particularly on this leveling, self-leveling concrete, are welcome. Please remember to like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Keeping Up with Papa, Life After Work. Papa out.